All right. Hey, everybody. It is January 13th. Welcome to this weekend's Tinderbox Meetup. Super excited. We'll have people coming on board. In the first part of the year, we changed the Zoom links so that we can record to the cloud and play with the Zoom's AI companion summary capabilities and other elements. So hopefully we'll get everybody up in this up with the new links as we go forward in the process. So let's just jump right in. So the way we typically manage our Tinderbox weekend meetups is we go around the room and new people introduce themselves. We then will dig into any challenges, issues, concepts that their individuals are having around personal knowledge management. If we have a theme, we talk about that theme. If we don't, then invariably we just jump right into different project ideas and such. So we don't necessarily have a formal theme this week. I have prepared some examples for us to go through because we haven't really delved into a Tinderbox how-to session in quite some time. So I've developed a Tinderbox demo that we can go through today. But before we jump into that, let's go around the room. No one's new. So let's go into what projects are people working on, what topics are on their ideas in this second meetup of the new year. Let's jump in. Peter, you got anything? What's going on with you? As I put him on the spot. Anybody else have any? Kim, Steve, David, what's on your minds today? What's on your minds today?
Well, here's a quickie. If I want to use a date in an export template, and I want Tinderbox to put the date in, but all I want is the year. What is that? I haven't looked at Mark's ATB ref. I'm sure I could find it there.
Read the documentation, Dave. Read the documentation.
I know, but I figure I'm here, and we want something to talk about. There's an easy one. So
yeah, no, we've got tons of stuff to talk about, but I am eating brunch, so okay. All right, so Peter is finishing his breakfast or brunch, so we'll go on that. That's a great question, Dave, and let's jump in and show that. And and again, in terms of the read the documentation methods, let's go through the methodical methodology of doing that just to help people out. So I'm going to pull up a browser too. All right. So I pulled up ATB ref. And what you're talking about is the idea of date formats. And if I used to have it right here, date formats. So if you come up into the ATB ref, which is Tinderbox's documentation, you'll see a variety of different ways of instituting, date formats and such. So let's go ahead though and ask your question. So let's say we have a note here. And in that note, you have, we'll just use a attribute. It could be any attribute you want. In this case, it's start date. And let's just make that start date equal to today for the fun of it. Come on. All right, let's just go like this now. All right, so we've got this date format, 1/13/2024, 9/08, and you want to be able to, in an export template, represent that as just the year, correct?
correct.
Okay, so there's a variety of different ways to go about doing that, and it depends on how you want to do it. Are you wanting to actually use a template, or are you wanting it to represent itself in the text?
It appears in a template. So on export is when it gets populated.
Okay, so let's go ahead, and if we go to the file menu and click file, templates, HTML, we'll just drop in the standard HTML template for ease of use. We'll select the outline view. So we have a note, and here we have a template, and you're wanting to have the year in this note populate into the
yeah, let's say right after the title, just to make it simple.
Right after the title. All right, and let's go ahead and say period. This is a date.
I say hard code it, Dave. Just hard code it.
That's what I've been doing, and then every January 1st, I have a whole bunch of things break.
Yes,
and that gets super annoying, right?
A little.
So, let me make sure I'm recording properly too. Yeah, okay, good. So, So what we're going to do here is, let me pause the recording real quick. I just want to make sure that I'm recording to the cloud.
Sure.
Stop recording. Nope. Okay, I'm properly recording to the cloud. Great. So what we're going to do is we want to insert export code in here that renders the date into a template. And just so for the people that are watching this, so what we do is we have a note here, and let's put some text in here. Okay. And we want to be able to render this post, and in this post we'll include the date. And so on this note, we're also going to hit Command 1. That will show us, we can specify what template we want this note to use it. And so we'll just render this and so everybody can see it. So right now we say, here's the template's telling us, here's the note, here's the text we just inserted in the template. This is the date. And then there's the text of the note. And if we could pop over to our template, we're seeing what's happening here. Here's where this is the date information is being included, and then here's the text, and then any children that gets processed. So in order to include a attribute into the export template, what you would do is you type in value, which is the export code format, and you'd put in the value that you want, start date, or the attribute that you want. Okay, and we're just going to methodically step through this one step at a time so we can go do that. So if we can now go up to this note, we're now seeing we're getting I don't remember what the name of this is for. It's the universal UTC, I guess, or whatever terminology for a date format. That's the ISO, whatever that standard. That's the date format that's coming out. So then if we look at here, we can look at all of the different types of formats that we want. So format is T if you want time. Format is H:MMS:S if you want the full time. And if you just want year, I believe you should just be able to do format year, but let's keep going down and looking at them. And so you can go through the documentation and get the right year, but let's go ahead and just show you how to do that. So now, if I'm in the template and here I say, give me the start date attribute. But what I want you to now do is format it as only the year. Okay, so now if I go here, if I did it right, let's see what happens. I screwed it up. So let's see, because and the reason why I screwed it up is I said start date format, give me the year, but you notice I didn't close the second set of parentheses. Okay, so you want to make sure your parentheses are in balance. So there's 2 here, and there's 2 there. So now they're in balance. And so my expectation is when I do that, I should just see the year. And so you now see I'm getting 24. Okay, now I'm getting the year 4 times because I typed Y 4 times. There you go. Now I got the year. Does that help, Dave, or you're on mute if you're commenting?
Yeah, that's perfect. Problem solved.
Yeah.
I knew I could do it.
Yeah. And so while we're at it, so you can play around with different methods like that. So if I do like month space year, oops. Now I get the month and the year. And if in that case, you probably want to do like month/year, I think that will work. Yeah, so I get January 2024.
Right. I think that if you do it in caps, you get the name, a capital M, you get the name of the month.
I don't know. I think you do, but let's play around with that. And then if you do, and this is like universal computing standard stuff. So yeah, Jan 2024. And then I believe in this context, if you do year, maybe it's YY. No, what is I don't remember the code for the to get the whole year. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, there you go. So if you like type L, you get one concept, or you get the whole date. If you type capital Y, you get the 2-digit, you've got, okay, lowercase y is the 4-digit one. So you see that? So it says capital Y,
Yep.
capital Y.
There's a whole
And then-
Tinker Toy kit.
Yeah,
in there
and
for
if we type
formatting.
L here, these are, if I understand correctly, in computer language, these are called flags, right? So if we type L here instead of all of that, I think we get the full, yeah, January 13th, 2024. So that flag of L tells it to represent that. If we type the month and lowercase y, there we go, Jan 2024. And then obviously in that kind of format, we wouldn't want the there. So we go like that, and then we get Jan 2024. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to manage it, but the answer to your question is you use the what's called a dot operator. You use the format dot operator. And so you say dot format against the attribute and then specify whatever flag you want that format to give you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, issues about what we just went over? We'll publish that sample at the end of the class. All right. We have new people that have joined us since we started the call. Anybody else have any projects they're working on? Before I dump us into a mind meld of a demo I wrote up this morning.
I have one, but I'm not ready to present. I'll present next time.
Yeah, a presentation or a question?
No, it's I'm working on a project of Bloom's taxonomy. Zettelkasten, and I'm not ready to prepare today to talk about it. But the next time I'll definitely be ready for some questions, send up prototypes. Definitely sponging your videos, Michael, and next time.
All right, so for next time, we've got a Bloom's taxonomy from Kim Peterson. So that's going to be sweet.
Yep, please do. I'll be there.
All right. Win, what do you got?
So I was working through the end of 2023 on using Tinderbox to lay out a fairly complicated plan for the revision of my computer security class that I told many of you about the first time I did it a year ago. I didn't teach it in the fall. And I came up with a number of clever things that I thought I could do using adornments and notes to arrange bits and pieces of lectures in place and keep track of what I had done and use the adornments to collect the notes for a day that I wanted to do them into an outline for the lecture. So I could just pop over there and say, okay, this is the stuff I want to have in the lecture based on the bits I had dropped in place.
Yeah.
It was a lot of adventure in where and how you can use action code. One, the pieces were individually often very difficult to figure out. And two, the result so far, it was getting there and I had to abandon it because the reality is actually getting started with the semester. And so I don't have a direct question today, except I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts about how you document the design of what you did when I've got fragments of code on this adornment and that adornment, and what happens with lecture notes and prototypes and so on. That's a moderately sort of complicated set of interactions, and naming has to be consistent and so on, but the coding is scattered. So there's no clear place that is explained for it. And I'm just curious if anybody had run into that and thought about it.
So to summarize your question is, how do you create documentation for all your Tinderbox action code?
Or for a complex sort of workflow that is implemented in a bunch of scattered action code. Maybe that's the same question.
So how do you create document? Yes and no. There's documentation for your action code, but you're also saying, but I also just heard you say documentation for my workflow. And I think those are two slightly different nuanced elements, but they're really important.
So the yes. So what I'm specifically interested in here is that is being able to understand what happens in the code when I drop a note in a certain place on the screen, uh, based on prototypes and the action code that is scattered across on-add actions in different adornments and things like that, so that I can understand it in the future when I want to modify it. But normally, if I have a program, I've got the program text, and it is together in some way, and the pieces are visible. And in Tinderbox, they're scattered and hidden, as far as I can tell.
Got it. So what you're another way to maybe, and again, I think zeroing on the question, it's help me document my workflow so that I know what will get triggered when I drop a note into different stages of my development. What kind of act.
So I think you identified two things. One is what the workflow I experience as a user is, so that when I drop a note here, I expect the following things to happen. And then the other is the documentation of my program design that's implementing all of that, because those pieces are scattered. The workflow, I don't have a big problem documenting right now. I probably should write it down, and it sort of helps to write it down as a guide to implementation. But I'm more interested in how do I just have a reminder that or if there are any tricks, I can write a big design document. I've done that for pieces as I go, that just say that when this happens, these actions are going to get triggered, and because of the following naming conventions that I have to follow across them, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the programming piece of this for a semi-complicated system with scattered implementation.
Yeah. So it's anybody. I have some thoughts. It looks, Melvin, it looks like you got your microphone working again. That's good. I have some thoughts, but let's let others react first. Anybody have any comments on that? All right. So I think the first thing to think about is in the broader construct of your note-taking process, or yeah, and I guess it also kind of determines, like, well, let's start with the end, with the output, the end thing. In the end, what do you want at the end? Do you want to be able to publish a syllabus? Are you getting output coming out of Tinderbox? All right, or are you just going to be doing everything within Tinderbox visually? Because that actually does have an implication as to when and where you put your code, and how you go about managing it.
My current answer to that is, at the moment, I am interested in using Tinderbox to round up fragment, just a set of notes that have to get scattered across in different places for a calendar, and then gather up all my notes for lecture 1 into a container, so that then I can say, okay, I'll probably export that as some text form, then to work with another tool for actually writing out what I need for the lecture. So the export requirements from Tinderbox at this stage on this are minimal. I can certainly envision taking it further later, but this was I wanted to limit my ambition at this.
And again, the reason why I asked that is because my approach obviously is slightly different than yours right now, because I do everything in Tinderbox. And so part of my methodology here too is I have action code, because if you think about where action code can go, and for those that are listening to this for the first time and maybe new to Tinderbox, action code is a language, if you will, within Tinderbox that allows you to transform and transclude the values from your attributes and from your content when you perform a particular action within Tinderbox. And actions can include things like on add to a note, on remove from a note, triggering a template, applying a stamp, running a rule, running an edict. There's a whole bunch of different triggers that can be used to drive that action code. So, with that in mind, one of the things I want to kind of, you'll want to think about is, like, so I've got action code, but what triggers do I want that code? When do I want that code to be triggered? is one step to start thinking about. Do I want that code to be triggered out as an agent? Do I want that code to be triggered as an edict or a rule that's kind of constantly running behind the scenes at that note to perform a particular action? Do I, or do I want that code only being applied in the context that I use often, only it being applied when I am actually running an export function, like what we just did with Dave. Dave only wants that note to show up, that date to show up, quote unquote, in the code at the time of export. In the context he was asking for, just formatting visuals versus actually transforming a particular medium. So let's go ahead and share screen real quick. And let's play with setting up. And I think a lot of this exercise is setting up what you're trying to do. So let's kind of help people set up a class.
So Michael is so I got fairly far along with this.
Yeah.
One of the problems I did run into is how to decide about some of the places that it runs. Some are sort of clear cut, and some it gets a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
So I can show some of what I've got because it's there.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? So rather than starting from
if we want to dive into it, but it is not complete and it's not a great.
No, that's fine. Yeah, if you don't mind, that will help give everyone context as we're going through this conversation. But I do have some ideas for you, and it actually, based on the demo I prepared for today, I think the demo is going to help a lot.
Can I share screen?
Hey, Frederick, by the way, nice to see you, or at least your picture.
So all this is, there's nothing non-public in here, but it is all work in progress.
Yeah, of course.
This is, and I'm sort of still slow at sort of flipping around between things. So here is a top level outline of plans that was an in progress, not fully worked out set of things interesting for the class, basic course info, what I'm trying to do, some themes that I'm going for, learning goals, teaching techniques that I've been gathering up, things about, some ideas about making work on Tinderbox. And then we get into a set of lab assignments that I've got. And then there's a set of lectures that, for it. And then let me show you another view. Zoom is getting in the way of my window here.
By the way, if it just as a little an aside,
if
you right mouse click on the tab, you can switch between views.
Cool. Now let's see. Let me go back to the outline for a second. I'm trying to remember where the interesting map view of this stuff for planning is. Is this it?
Okay, and can I give you another trip real quick? Go back to the top outline. Okay. Now you see where you clicked on labs and lectures. That's the one you wanted to open up in a new tab. Okay. If you right next to, scroll down, right next to that little rectangle or the little square box right next to the arrow. Double click on that. And that will automatically push you up to the breadcrumb. So you don't need to open the new tab.
Okay. And then how do I go back from that?
And then you can just use the tabbing. If you follow the breadcrumbs right there along the top, just above, right there, you can then step your way back through the
okay, I appreciate this, and I also feel like an idiot.
No.
As I said, I had to put this away a couple of weeks ago to actually.
That's okay. I lose myself in my documents all the time. So
that was not where it was.
Yeah, we appreciate you showing us the thought process.
Is this it? Shoot. It actually used to open in the main map I was looking for.
Do you have a keyword you might remember that you could search against?
So what searches across everything?
So if you do Command F,
Um,
just type whatever you want.
if we want to pause this while I poke around and then come back to it in a
Yeah.
little bit, that would be fine.
Yeah, why don't we do
I
that?
did come prepared to do this.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks for trying. Well, yeah, why don't you
Okay.
so short while you're looking for that, find that. And the shorter answer to your question is you want to use agents. And you want to, and there's some other strategies to do that. But let me show you, let me kick into my demo. Unless anybody has anything else to talk about. Anybody else have any other comments, questions right now, or shall we dump into kind of my prepared workshop that I wanted to show you today? Prepared workshop, good?
Workshop, go ahead.
We'll go like that.
Workshop, yes.
We'll get the new and then we can go like that too with the new Mac OS. All right, so let's go ahead and so here's what I kind of wanted to talk about today. So one of the things that I really struggled with recently was automatically numbering table of contact. So if I look, say, at a study document. So let's say and this is the context of a doctoral dissertation, but this easily could be a thesis. This easily could be a company report. This could be a syllabus. This could be course outlines. Doesn't really matter what you want to, what you label the project. The point is, what I'm trying to show here is when you've got a bunch of different structure, you've got some structure to your documents, and then scattered throughout your documents, you have figures and tables. The overarching question is, how do you have Tinderbox help you automate the numbering and labeling of those figures and tables so that later when you're going to go, one, you want to publish it, so you want to make sure that all the tables and labor numbers and such are labeled properly. But the other thing you want to be able to do is to make sure that when you cross-reference those items in your documents, the cross-references stay consistent. So that's kind of the method I want to, or the stuff I wanted to show today. So that objective makes sense. Yeah.
And I
Yes.
can go now whenever you want, Michael.
All right, great. So let's have you go, and then we'll come back to what I was talking about.
And there are probably some things that I need to show that I did not pull up, but so
All good.
This is a sort of framework for the schedule. I've got weeks. I have 2 lectures a week, and I have a lab assignment pretty much every week. And I started with a collection of things I would like to do in lectures, just as like large or small items. So I need to organize those sort of thematically. And then I had things that I wanted to do for lab assignments that I had to put in order. So you'll see some connections here. That those are dependency relationships on the labs. So I need to do X before Y. And then what this does is the colored columns and rows are all adornments. So that when I drag basic Python onto week 1 lab assignment, this runs, and this is I may not describe this accurately because I don't have the documentation on, but the concept is that that automatically adds that note or or clone of it to the lab one outline
Mm-hmm.
for it. So the so what's a way to open my top level in another tab real quick?
So you got a tab on the right. Go to the right, mouse to the right, and that's another tab right now. No, you got it right there. You say it says outline topics on the right. No, don't change that.
Yep.
Right there. Click that.
Okay. Right.
So now you can
so
toggle back and forth.
right.
And then if you want to go back to your top line, just click one of those breadcrumbs.
So if we go up so that the lab section is actually sort of interestingly worked out very well. So the lab thing just you can see like it's gathered up all of these things into, so I have an outline of how to write all my labs. From dragging around the random things that I've got. So that's one piece of what I did. And then I'm doing the same kind of thing for the lecture topics for it. And so what happens is that on each of these, they're numbered. The adornments have an on-add action. So when I drag basic Python into week 1, it gets there's an attribute on the node that's added that says week number is 1.
Hey, why don't you do us a favor for us? Hit Command 1, just so people can see what you're doing there. And then pull that over on screen. And then if you go to I think it's number 4, is it? No, no, go to the Death Star, sorry.
Right.
Right, and then the action thing. Right, so that's where it says, if is adornment equals true, then make the color red, and then make the week counter equal to plus. And so that's where, when you're dropping something on, we don't have to go through the math right now, but just so people know, that's where that happens. Is when he's dropping something on that note, that's applying elements to his logic.
And then and so then if I do it on the lectures, it's doing the same thing for the week. And then computing what lecture number 1 to 26 through the semester, it is based on the combination of the week and the which lecture it is in the week. This doesn't quite work with my holiday and vacation schedule, but that's not a big deal. I can deal with that. So that and then what we get on lectures is sort of a similar thing. They're not all filled in. With the labs, actually, we'll go back and look at that. So the labs are created and then they are kept sorted by the lab number for it. And then so the lectures are done, and in a different piece of the document, I had a thing that is a rule, I think, that looks at the lectures and sorts them in order, so that I would get an outline that just sort of shows everything on all the lectures. And then in theory, when I'm ready to work on that lecture prep, I go to that. It's got a bunch of stuff that is already there for me to work on. Okay, this is the concepts I need. And my idea was to be able to drag in readings and other things I needed to do sort of all along the way for this. But the basic structure you see on this is this ends up to be, it's not, if I step back and look at it, once I understood all some set of moving parts to do it, it's not a tremendous number of lines of code. That's awesome. Figuring out how to get the pieces in and when to use which kinds of things, that was a little tricky. But now there's just sort of this implied data model in it that to change things and to tweak things, it would be nice to have some reference on that just to go and find all of the code.
Yeah. So a couple things that I'm Frederick's got a question, like, I don't understand why lectures are not correlated with labs. So that's an interesting question. But the other thing is, if I go back to your outline, I'd like us to take a step back and to think about, because I noticed if you go back to your other tab, your outline 2024 tab. Okay, and so if I'm not mistaken, password guessing, that's actually an alias
Yes.
as opposed to an actual note. And so you dropped an alias of that note under lab 1 as kind of an organizational structure for you. So somewhere else, the actual real note of password guessing is somewhere.
Right. And it is a topic that is, you know, in here somewhere.
But it's not there
Right
in the
there.
map. It's somewhere in the, yes, it's there, but where is the actual note in the hierarchy of your notes in your outline? Where is password guessing?
It is a note in this within this container topics.
Okay, so let's go back to your outline view then.
So
Let's go to the container topics.
oh, also just to answer the question, the labs and lectures are correlated because let me just answer that question real quick. It's on the chart. So the lab assignment topics are implicitly, just because this is the way I'm thinking about them, primarily based on the materials in lectures 1 and 2. So this week we'll cover the lab assignment that is issued in week 1 will be associated with what's in lectures 1 and 2 of week 1. This just from my schedule, actual schedule a little bit.
This is Frederick. I'm confused because in the outline view of Tinderbox, I don't see the correlation that you have graphically in this view. So I'm missing something about how Tinderbox works. Because here you see it graphically, but I don't see it in the outline.
Right. So I was having some trouble getting the stuff to line up for the lectures the way I wanted it to, and that's when I had to stop because I was running out of time.
Yeah, no, but what I think he's saying though is he's trying to look at and correct me if I'm wrong, Frederick, but when he's trying to see the correlation between what he's visually seeing in this structure and map view versus the visual structure of outline view.
That's right.
Right. The idea is that
No, but again, let's pause right real quick.
Okay.
And this is kind of what I was trying to get at too a little bit, I think, Frederick, is everything right now you've got is all of your main notes, if you will, are in a file. You've got and somewhere you've got a container somewhere you're calling topics and themes.
Right. That's right here.
Right. That's where all of your main notes are.
Yes.
Everything else seems to be aliases of some sort.
The parts that are lectures and labs that are actually sort of organizing the outline for specific assignments and class meetings are aliased from these. If there's a better way to do that, I didn't know.
There is, and I'm going to tell you that right now. And so I'm just trying to get at to how you got to where you're at now.
Right.
So what I think I'm seeing you did was you created a folder called topics and lab lectures where you kind of brainstormed everything you wanted to talk about.
Yep.
And then what you did is you double clicked on that little icon on the left. You created out your map view, and then started dragging things around using the endorments to help you get some visual organization at what you wanted to accomplish.
Yes.
And then what you did is you started manually creating aliases and dropping them into some hierarchical structure.
They're not manual created. The aliases are created by action code implied somewhere in what I've got.
Got it. All right. So there might be okay. So click down on, go back to your outline view. So I think, so if you can, and actually, so right where it says lab projects, click on that, labs and projects. Let's just experiment with something real quick. No, don't open it up. Don't open it up. Let's click on the note and go up to note, create agent.
Okay, hold on. I need to move the window around on my screen. I hide the zoom controls. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, where did you want click?
Just create an agent.
Create an agent.
So go to note, create agent. Or you can hit just Shift Command A. All the way up the top, create an agent. Okay, so now you're creating an agent. If you click away, okay, the agent dialog box pops up. I'll give you a quick note on that. And here is where you want to, no, you moved your agent into the topics and lectures. So why don't you move your agent out of topics and lectures real quick?
Okay.
Put it up there. And no, just right there is fine.
Okay.
Then open up the window on the right so we can see the displayed attributes. Nope.
Ooh, sorry.
No.
Where did we go?
So you see the little dot on the far right of your screen? The bar along the far right of your screen, right in the middle of the screen. On the right side of your screen, the far right side
Right.
of the screen, middle, you
Oh,
see a little
okay.
drag
Oh.
that over. Okay.
Okay,
There you go.
got it. Had not seen that before.
Okay. So now pull it over farther. Okay. Now, I for one find this a lot easier to work with agents. Go ahead and click on the displayed attributes box, a little table thing there, and type in agent query, agent action, and agent priority. Whoops. No.
Like that?
Yeah, and do the other three too. Do agent
Yeah,
query,
okay, yeah. That you said something not. So agent action.
agent action, agent query, and agent priority. And you can just check the boxes there in the screen.
Agent query, agent action. And
then if you see it in the list, it says agent priority. There you go. Got it? Okay, so that way, and then often with agent, I'll create a prototype for agents too, so that that happens automatically. But if you click the little plus next to the word agent real quick.
okay, so can we take a look at something again? This is I'm not remembering all the stuff I did. Because there's let's actually look at my prototypes. So I have a lab prototype.
No, you don't want to have agents in their prototype there. What are you trying to?
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, so this is the fundamental question. I don't remember where the code is. I do have some agents that are what is causing is creating the aliases in the labs and lectures notes.
Okay.
So
So it
where
looks like
are
you
they?
have
I don't remember right now.
you have a container up on the top that says agents. And if we open that
Actually,
up,
okay. So yes, there we go. I'm sorry. We do have them, the agents up here.
okay. And why don't you do this real quick? Go back to your prototypes. Hit enter. Type P agent. Lowercase p agent. Next to the plus button on the prototype, click on that. Go over to symbols. And scroll down a little bit. Where's the one I like? Scroll up a little bit. I'll find it. There I go. The one on the right, far right in the screen that kind of looks like a heartbeat. Scroll down. Scroll there, right there. I use that one for agents because it's like looks like a heartbeat, like something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the tables, go ahead, click away. Now on the tables of that prototype. No, the displayed attributes of that prototype.
Yep.
Type in the P agent, P query, P priority, or agent query, agent. priority. Okay, there you go. And put the query on the top and the priority at the bottom.
These just drag.
Yeah. Okay, now apply that prototype to those two agents.
Okay, quick way to do that.
So right mouse click, like select them both. And then right mouse click, right mouse
Yep.
click on the little rectangle or square on the left. There you go. Okay, now go click away anywhere. Go back. There you go. So now you can see what your code is in there. And if you need to take a look at that code, go ahead and click on the code in the agent query. And I find it sometimes easier just to copy that and paste it into the text so I can just read it. Okay, so you're saying topic type equals lecture, and which lecture is greater than 0 and lecture assigned equals false. Okay, and then your action is what? Got it. And then you're having it move around. Okay. So essentially what I see you're doing, one way, what you're doing is you're having Tinderbox kind of globally with these two agents look through your topic ideas and try to get that organization for you. Is
Yep.
that what are you seeing you're trying to do?
Yes.
And that works, but I think the challenge with that is you're losing some opportunity for granularity control. And you might find it easier to use more than one agent in this context rather than trying to have one agent do it all and for all situations. Especially as you're trying to organize your thoughts. So let's for now, so we can experiment with what we're doing. Let's go ahead and turn these agents off. So this code, these agents don't overwrite what we're going to experiment with. And how to turn the agent off is where you say it says agent priority.
Mhm.
Type -1. And then on the other one too. So what that does is that tells Tinderbox, turn off this agent. And so then that way you can go ahead and run other things. So let's go back to our other outline with that agent I was trying to create with you before. Maybe you can expand that COSI 107.
So which one?
That one, the top one on the top.
The top one?
Yeah. And then we created an agent somewhere in the middle,
Yep.
right? So apply the agent prototype we created to that.
Oh, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Just go back to the breadcrumb. Yeah, there you go.
What was agent? And that
No,
that
no.
was
You
no
right mouse click on the little square to the left.
right mouse click on the little square. Right.
Okay. So now you've got, so what we, and let's call this one, I don't know, lab 1.
Lab 1A.
And
Actually, no,
like,
it said, and
I like prefixes, so I say AGT or AGNT hyphen lab 1. So that visually helps me see, I can very quickly see what are agents and what aren't and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
All right. And then what was and click on one of your notes. See, I think one of the areas where you're getting confused here too is you don't actually have, like, what are you calling your different types? Like, how do I know that is that, that's a lab or what is that? So it would be helpful to kind of see, like, if you had displayed attributes, where we could see actually what type that was.
Great. So so sure. And we can do that. I didn't get to that point because part of this is I have a mental model of the topics, and I look at this list of things I want to communicate to students.
Mhm.
And some of them are going to go into labs, and those are also going to be part of lectures.
Right,
The ones
okay,
with the lab outline,
So
the
do me a favor, create a new container called week 1. Okay, and then pull that agent lab 1 into that container. Where'd it go? Hit undo. You've moved it somewhere accidentally. Okay. So if I were doing this, I would say, look, the hard-coded outline is I know I have 15 weeks. Right? So I'm gonna create 15 weeks worth of week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then as you're organizing this, I've got topics and lectures. So I'm going to have this one container where I'm dumping every topic and lecture I need. And then I'm going to have agents running under week 1, week 2, week 3 that are going to go pull out of the topics lecture the things that I want to have in this particular week. So in week 1, I've got lab 1, and you could copy that agent lab 1 and call it lectures. So copy that agent and call it lecture 1, lecture 2. And then create another one, call it lecture 2. Okay, and I presumably labs will go below lectures. Right. So in week 1, you're going to want to give these 2 lectures and you're going to have those labs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's now go tell a Tinderbox to go find what your lecture 1s are going to be. So what was your attribute you used for lectures?
So
Or
to clarify one of the things I was trying to do, is that the way I was working out the sequencing of much of the material in the class was defining what I needed to do when in the labs.
Right.
And part of this is taking a topic when I drop it in a lab, that it's going to, the goal was that then it needs to appear in the week in one of the lectures.
Right. Okay.
That's not shown here because I didn't get that far.
Okay. So let's say that again. I think this is really helpful because because what we're learning about here before we've even gotten to any action code and tried to automate anything, what we've been spending the last handful of minutes doing is actually thinking through what is the hierarchy of the information that we need and when and how, and what's the best way to organize it. And one of the things I really like what you did is you used the map view to help you with this. We're using outline view to help you with this. So what I just heard you say is within my list of topics, what you're trying to do is you say, I'm going to run these labs. These elements are part of this lab, and therefore, these elements need to be part of lecture 1 or lecture 2 if it's part of lab 1. So go show me something that's part of lab 1.
So basic Python.
Okay. So let's go find basic Python in your outline somewhere. There it is, right there. Okay. So you said, and so because you dragged basic Python onto that map, your adornment added it to week 1, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so what that's telling you is you want basic Python to be in week 1 somewhere.
Yes.
And do you know if you want it in lecture 1 of week 1 or lecture 2 of week 1, or at this point you don't care?
So at the point we were doing this, the that was not my top consideration. And I had not fully gotten through to how I want to, in effect, use the map view or something to make that decision for it. In some sense, I'd like to be able to probably drag that over into the lecture.
So, let's just play with that right now. Go back to your map view real quick. Okay, well, you kind of already got it. So you've got lecture,
Right.
you've got the lecture 1 and lecture 2.
Right. So
But let's
what I would, if I'm sort of thinking out loud about this,
Mhm.
what I would probably want to do is be able to drag basic Python over here so that it's in lecture 1 of week 1.
Yeah.
Have that now referenced in some useful way in my lecture 1 outline. And also have a visual indication that it belongs with the lab as well. Whether that's as a topic here or the interesting thing is I'd want it to show up in the outline as a lab element because that's what I'm going to work from when I write it for it. And in this case, maybe it's interesting because it's color coded so that I know that this is a lab related topic in lecture 1. So
Okay.
that would probably be fine. So when we sort of add it as a lab thing, it gets a color coding as a lab element, and then I can drag it around for it. So I end up with empty lab assignment things, but I still know what they are because of the color coding. That's not bad.
Right. Okay. So that's good. So now we've got, so that sounds like you need another attribute called lecture number. So if you can pull over the displayed attribute window, no, don't, no,
Yep.
stay right there. Over there. Yep, there you go. Let's look at what's on that note. So it sounds like you've got week number, but it sounds like you also need lecture number.
Right.
Right. So now don't do it there. Go back, click on the plus button on the right on the tabs.
The plus
Go
button.
over all the way that one right there. Now hit right mouse click, go to outline view. So when I'm in this kind of development phase, hit Command 0 to get everything back to normal view there. Go over to the 2024 tab, the breadcrumb on the far left, so we see everything. Okay, and then double click on the square right in front of prototypes. So when I'm in this kind of development phase like this, I always keep an open tab to the right where it says outline prototypes, because I'm going to be constantly back and forth modifying and refining my prototypes as I'm doing this. So go to and which it was P lecture. So you're going to want to kind of open up that displayed attributes and type in there week. And it looks like you already had lecture number up there. Scroll up. Okay. And then just to help me, I really use click on the little plus icon in front of P lecture. And maybe we can't only see half of it. Maybe find like a little talking head icon or something like that, so you can visually see that this node is a lecture versus something else. Or the better one there is click on that again, and click on the classic, and there's a little person or the people. Yeah, so that's you lecturing.
Okay.
Right. And so now, and again, why is week number 219 as the default? So what I would do is right mouse click on that, on week number. No, on the week number and say use inherited. Okay. So the other thing is hit Command 1 and look at your Death Star. Look at your edicts or rules. Okay, and look at your action. Okay. it looks like at some point along the way, you added the default value of 96 to this prototype. So go ahead and delete 96. Nope. There you go. So that just keeps it clean. So now your lectures are its default 0. Lecture number is default 0. Now, do you want your lecture number to actually be a number or a string? So it looks like it's a string. So if you go back to your number 4.
Number 4.
Okay. No, that sorry, the white one. Okay. And under your user attributes, scroll down and click week number. And if you see here, you've defined your week number. Okay, now it's defined. There you go. You've set your default to 96 for some reason.
Yeah.
So just delete that. There you go.
I don't know how that happened, but yeah, you never
It
know.
happens. It happens. That's the beautiful thing about Tinderbox is now you can clean that stuff up. So go ahead and you can close that window now.
I just wanted to check. So, and also I had set the type of the lecture number to
Okay. So now your lecture prototype's clean. Okay, and you know that that's going to be a lecture, and you're going to want to be automating those numbers. So let's go back to your outline. Okay, and if we click on and let's go ahead and add
just to check for the everybody else. Is this interesting?
Yes. Yes. Lost, but yes.
well, and again, let's pause right here. This is a great time. Thanks for having us check in. The lost part is really, really important as part of this process. Right? So you're lost, I'm lost. Well, guess what? So is Win. And it's his project. Right? And that's okay. Because we're trying to think about where is our information? Where is our data? How do we want to organize it? What names do we want to use? What code do we want to use to help automate our process? And this is the beautiful thing about Tinderbox is it affords us this opportunity to have this incremental formalization. So he initially did a massive brain dump of the things he wanted to talk about and dump them into the file. And now we're going through the next step to kind of reorganize it, which is just the natural flow of the way we go about doing this. So, if you go back to
so Michael, if we could, I really appreciate the help with this. So I'm totally on board with the incremental nature and trying to figure out, and part of it is a back and forth of figuring out what I want and how it actually works. That I'm fine with because I've been programming for decades. The starting point for my question is you've been revealing as we go sort of a mental model about these are the useful things, and but we're still clicking around to a bunch of places to for what the agents do and so on. And what I'm curious about is at the point that you get it all working and you can forget about it, that's nice until next semester, and I need to do something different. And the question is, where's the week number getting set? I was wondering if there are some.
But again, here's part of my issue. I can't answer that question for you until I understand how we've set up the structure.
Oh, I know
right?
you can't. I'm looking for how.
But right now you're setting week. Right now you're setting week number in those two agents that are overriding the whole thing.
Right. So I'm not asking. I'm asking about. Let me ask a different question. When you are setting up one of your interesting, complicated setups, and there's action code and agents and rules and edicts involved and attributes on different things and the prototypes. Is there a method you have outside of your head for describing how your system for that file works?
Yeah. So it is, and again, this is so right above week 1, add a new note and call it a readme. Okay, and in that readme, go ahead and in the text area of that readme, put like a hashtag and call it week numbering. And that's where I document it. So I'd use
Okay.
I use the readme as my lab notes. And I would refine those as I'm developing my thinking in my process.
Okay. And this is getting to the just a matter of technique in practice is that so I understand that as the structure for doing that. I can work with that. And so as a matter of practice in this, it seems advisable for us as we start to sort of start making that documentation early on.
Yeah, I mean,
and work out the design, and since as you go, as we've been doing here and talking about, and then keeping the README sort of open to for both reference and updating as you do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's sort of what I'd started to do. I was just curious about other practices for this, not actually in the file because I tend to type things elsewhere, but it should be in the file. You're right about that.
Yeah, no, and again, so that's one way I go about doing it. But the other thing when I'm looking at your file is, I see you kind of mixing metaphors of structure. So in one case, you're using the agent aliases to be moving the aliases around into different labs into different structure. Where like if I'm just looking at like lecture 25.
Yep.
You had those two primary agents that you were running that apparently ran the agent, found that note, and then moved it to lecture 25. Is what I think.
And added an alias for that note in lecture 25.
Yeah, and for like what I think you're doing. And what I was trying to do is saying that seems like an extra set of steps that you don't need to be doing holistically. So if you go under week 1, where we created week 1 under the README, expand that. What I would do if I were you is I'd have like a little instead of having two agents doing everything, have multiple agents under each week. Right? So you've got an agent.
So defining an agent that just gathers up the things for lecture
week
1.
Yeah, and sticks it in that folder called week 1, because the week 1 is the actual primary container you're looking for. You want everything about week 1 in the container week 1.
Okay, and then how do I keep it in view on the matrix page?
Well, that's because that is happening under your topics and labs and lectures. Right. So the other thing that you might want to find interesting, once you move the
okay, so a different way to do it then would be to have a container of, I still don't know how to do it.
Yeah, so here's one of the mental challenges of using with Tinderbox that we're kind of getting under. If you're trying, it depends on your orientation of your project. If you're visually oriented and trying to do everything through map view, then all the notes that are going to be on that map view have to be in one container. If you're hierarchically oriented and trying to do everything in outline view, which I tend to do, then your notes are naturally organized within outlines. You can't do both. Right? And that's one of the fundamental challenges, right? Where people are trying to balance the working between map view and outline view. Yeah, Art.
Oh yeah, hey guys. I just wanted to ask, is there any reason why Win can't just have a separate tab open and that will have his map view of the container he wants, while he's then otherwise working in outline view
right,
in another tab?
He can, but this is where he's mixing metaphors, right? You in the sense that his tab for his topics and lectures is the map that he's got there on the left, Art. That's what he's got. And that's that
Right.
container called topics and lectures. But now we're in outline view. And he's got a couple of agents that are trying to move his aliases around into a hierarchical structure to make it more easier for him to view. And that's getting kind of confusing because he's trying to mix the view the data from map view, view the data from lecture view. What I'm trying to suggest is you've got week 1, you've got lecture 1, lecture 2, lab 1 under that week 1, and you're using your agents to help you organize that. And those agents are looking into the folder called labs and lectures to pull what it wants out into those.
Yeah, so I see what you mean by the mixing of the, because even now looking at the project, it's hard for me to figure out what the point of focus is.
Correct.
But I mean, when you look at the first tab, the maps for topics for labs and lectures, does that, so that contains basically his master grid slash map view of his lectures by lecture.
Correct.
So he actually doesn't need
And again,
to.
and
Go
I
on.
think go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupt you.
No, no, not at all. I was just like, I think that basically if he moves now to the outline view, then he's getting a different view altogether, which is not this sort of layout and assignment.
Correct. And here's the fundamental thing. It's taken me a long, and I think we're still struggling with this. The fundamental challenge is this idea of map view versus lecture view or outline view. And if you can go back to the outline view. So the map view is based on everything that's underneath the topics and labs lectures,
Yeah.
right? You can't
Yeah.
put that out map view into any nested structure
No, you
because
can't.
map view is
Yeah.
built on a list of items in a container with
Yeah.
no nested structure.
In fact, what I do is I go to the extent of naming that particular container, or I'll put a dash and say map view to remind me that that particular container has been designed to only
Yeah,
be able to look at it as a map.
and I think that's a great idea. So, Luann, why don't we do that right now in front of topics? Type map hyphen topics. Okay. So in the way you've chosen, and hit a space. So the way you've chosen to fundamentally structure your Tinderbox file is you want to use the map view as the means of visually orientating yourself for all of your notes and your ideas. And to help us a little bit, can you move that bar over a little bit to the right? Okay. Do me a favor and go up to File, View, Use Columns.
Where?
File, View. No, sorry, not View. I'm sorry. Go to View, Use Columns. Okay. And do it real quick for me on the note where it says map hyphen topics. Double click on the little triangle on the left, so we collapse it all the way up. No, not the triangle, the square. Double click on that, right? So now click on the top under this where you see where there's a little X box and the plus.
Right here?
Click the plus. No.
Oh,
Up. No, to the left. To the left. No. Click the plus.
no. Click the plus.
Right. Now click on that where it says the attribute appeared.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that and type in week number or whatever the name of that attribute was, week number. And then you can add another plus for lecture number. Okay. And then if you pull the little bars over to the left, you can give yourself more space. And you can format those later where you get rid of the zeros, what we can do.
Right.
But so now what you're seeing, and again, this is where you can start visually seeing clearly your agents aren't doing what you expect them to be doing because you've got numbers all over the map. Like which.
Yes, right.
Right, which, so, and then if you right and click on the map view item again. No, sorry, go back to outline. Nope, go back to outline, outline tab. Okay, click on the map topics note. Hit Command 1. Hit the Death Star. Click over to sort. And I'm assuming you want these sorted by lecture number.
We could, hadn't gotten that far.
Yeah, but this helps visually too. Maybe just
Yeah.
sort it by lecture number.
It's like that.
Yeah. All right, you can close the box. And then you can have a sort also, but then lecture number and then by week. You could do it by week number and then by lecture number. That might be the better way to do it. So the first box should be week. If you just done the search dot, if you don't have to do it that way too. If you click the search, that will help. That can
Yeah.
help too. All right, close that box. So now, so essentially, what you're telling me, the way you've chosen to organize this file, is all of your primary knowledge is being organized in this one container called maps and topic lectures. And then what you want is you want to discover this information and render it visually in an outline using agents. That's how you've chosen to organize this file. Melvin just had an aha moment though. Melvin, what's your aha moment? Melvin, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was the outline map distinction just escaped me until that moment. So
Well, and it's such an important one, and if that's all we've accomplished today, that's great, because that really people really struggle with that, right? So a map view is based on all of the items in a one level container. A hierarchy view is separated different. So we've got our map view right now on the left, and and we've kind of got our map view sorted. Now click on the CSO, the second tab there. Win the second tab.
This
There,
one?
yeah, that one right there. The breadcrumb. Yeah, okay. So now we go up and we see our week ones. Now let's get our first agent running this thing. Click on the lecture 1 week agent.
Okay, so Michael, before we sort of take that a bit further, and maybe we're running out of time, I don't know.
We got time.
One of the things that I'm wondering about here is, so I think that this question about the map versus the outline for this is a really fundamental one, and I'd like to explore it a bit more for what I'd like to accomplish. And you can say it doesn't work that way for it, because if I had been able to push this further, then what I thought would be really interesting to use Tinderbox for is this visual organizing of stuff where I have a lot of dependency constraints. And then I've got the how much I think I can pack into a lecture stuff,
Yeah.
so I can move things around with that. And for the current semester, what I would want is with that organization done, then the outline view becomes the way I want to work with it. But the flexibility to move things around visually is still valuable.
Correct.
So that's why I ended up with the aliases in the lectures.
I agree. I think you're going the right direction. I absolutely think you're going the right direction. But let's do a favor. So go click scroll up a little bit just so I can see a little bit more. Or down. Sorry. Other direction. So click on the agent lecture 1.
Yep.
Okay. And let's add something into the agent action. So what do you want it to find? You want it to find, click in the attribute so we can, or actually it might be easier. I type in the agent action, but right mouse click on agent. Actually, right mouse click on lecture number 1. No, sorry. No, we're getting it wrong. Click away. Right mouse and let's click on get info. Right mouse click on that. Click get info. All right. So let's do your query. Go find me all of the items for lecture number 1.
Okay. So the query would be lecture num equals 1.
You don't need a semicolon in queries.
Yeah. Programmer, I typed them reflexively.
Yeah, I do too. And now click away.
Okay.
Just click away anywhere. No, out of the box. Okay. Now expand that. It already found them. There you go.
Right.
So rather than using those 2 primary agents to be moving stuff around for you, do it this way. Have little micro agents for each week. And then if
okay,
you want,
so
and now watch this. Now do me a favor. Click on week 1. Hit copy that and paste it. Name that week 2. Open that up. And change that lecture to week 2. No, just change the name to week 2.
oh yeah,
Okay. Now right mouse click on it to change your if you
that's gonna be lecture 3.
oh yeah, lecture 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Right mouse click on that. Hit the get info. I do it slightly different, but it works for this context right now. Change that to 3. Click away anywhere. Just click away anywhere. Okay. Now, let's say you're now wanting to work and you're go up to password guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what's the prototype for password guessing? So right mouse click on the square to the right or left. You don't have one. So we want to have. So what is that? What is that thing? Is it a?
So that thing is a lecture topic that I need to figure out something. It's not, but it's a lab topic, right? It's that this is
Okay.
one of the.
All right.
Both.
So let's go to your prototypes. Go click on your prototypes real quick. The tab on the right.
Yep.
Okay. And let's create a new prototype called P lecture or P topic.
Okay. Wrong shortcut.
Okay. Now give that P topic a displayed attribute. And it's going to need week number and lecture number. Okay. And I would also, let's create a new attribute called type.
Okay.
You can do that. You can do it there. Go back to the displayed attributes. Just type in the word type. And then make it a set.
Do I want to use just the word type, or do I want to? I guess
Just use the word type.
Actually, I've got a topic type here.
Yeah, bear with me while I'm thinking
Yep.
this through. We can change it later.
Okay.
Type and then make it a set. So click away. And then Tinderbox is going to ask you to so make it a set.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And go back to your outline. And click in your map. So every one of those items in your map view, map container,
Mm-hmm.
go to your map container. No, not your map view, your map container. Scroll down or up, right there. So what I've heard you just say is every one of those topics, everything in that container is a topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the other thing. Go to your displayed attributes. Type on add. Okay. And let's look at your on ad. Let's open that window up a little bit more so we can see the code. Yeah, got it. So you don't want that in there because this is a container. Yeah, so delete, yeah, so let's change that and just say on ad $ prototype equals quotes P topic. End quotes. So anything you're going to add into this from now on going forward, anything you add into this main map view thing is going to be a topic item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and later you'll want to go relabel all of those and make them topic prototypes.
Right.
Okay, but let's go back up to your agents now. Okay, so on right mouse click on P password guessing and give it the square and give it the prototype P topic. Okay, and so now let's say as you're working, you're like, oh, we didn't get to this week. I need to move password guessing to week 2, lecture 3.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so go change the numbers week 2 and lecture 3.
Oops.
And now go to file menu. There you go. And automatically the agent automatically move for you. Now, unfortunately, what that doesn't do is that won't move the position of the note in the map view.
Right.
Right. So you can either manually do it that way I just showed you. Now go ahead and fix that. Go change what we did again, the password guessing.
Okay.
Change that back. Okay. So when you're manipulating, and again, this is such a critical insight I think we're learning about Tinderbox in this moment. Really, what is your primary orientation? Are you a map view visually oriented approach to managing all your notes, so everything is in one container? Or are you primarily outline viewed where you don't really necessarily need the map view? So now let's say for the sake of your project, you're actually managing most things through map view. So if you go to map view, the top level container there, and now you've got this thing called password guessing, or you even have it somewhere. Yeah, password guessing right there. Why don't you move that to week 2? Okay. And now if you go there, you should see when the agents rerun. Oh, because your agents are based on lecture number, not week number.
Yeah.
All right. So go back and I don't know how you've got your okay.
And I think I understand what the effect should be.
Right. So or let's just change the ad. So and this is kind of where you're wanting to. So why don't you change your agent to being click on the agent, right mouse click on it, or see where it says agent query, change it from lecture number to week number. This is why I use the attribute views here, because now that I know how to write the code, I don't need the little pop-up. Say $ week number. No. Okay. And so then there are all of the items that are showing them. So essentially you can, the way that when you have set up your project to be primarily driven from map view, you're going to want to make these kinds of changes in the map view versus the outline view.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the map view to stay consistent with what you want it to be shown.
Right. And for this project, I think that is generally fine. That is, I would not be changing the topics from lecture to lecture, moving the topics around inside the outline view for this. What I would be doing is then sort of fleshing those out as outline items and probably turn into containers
Right.
themselves for detail. And if I were going full Michael on it, then it would be everything, and then I'd just export the lecture notes of the lecture presentation,
Correct.
from the result.
Correct. And I get my whole syllabus automatically populated
Yeah.
with all of my
Right.
points and scores and everything happening. And, that's the
And if we, you know, if we get there at some point, awesome.
right. So, but and again, here's the other thought too, and this is what so I think this is a really important thing to think about too as we evolve our thinking. When you're in a qualitative exploratory mode, like you're doing right now, map view is excruciatingly helpful. At some point, however, you'll move past map view because the map's in your head. You don't need it anymore. And you're going to find that working in outline view is more efficient at some point in your project. And at which point, what you can actually start doing is then you can run another line of code that says, all right, Tinderbox, take the structure that I put in, that I've developed using map view into this area, map topics and lectures. And now what I want you to do is actually run a script that hard codes everything into an outline structure, because I no longer need the map view to be able to represent what's going on. And that could be, and that might happen weeks from now, or maybe next summer, when you really have hard coded what this course is all about. And then you could start manipulating and managing the course in outline view rather than map view.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But that's one of the, I don't want to call it a limitation of Tinderbox, but it's one of the structural ways it's been coded is map view is in one, every item in a map view are all in one container. Everything in an outline view has this nested layer. And if you guys recall back like 6-7 months ago, I started this whole thread around why can't we have a flattened map view? And the reason why I've been asking for a flattened map view is the ability for me to be able to have, like my cake and eat it too, have a nested set of containers that can actually render themselves in a map view, which actually is programmatically, from what I've been able to now understand from the backstage discussion, really, really freaking difficult. If you think about all the edge cases that will come up to make that happen. And so that's why we have this kind of fundamental, I don't want to call it disconnect, but the challenge that we have between having one long list of items that can be represented in a map view and a nested list that are represented in outline view, and they're slightly disconnected. And once you have that aha moment that Melvin had, you can then, once you get that, and then you can start making some fundamental decisions of like, how do I want to set up and manage my project? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, and again, and then the aha moment I just had is that there may be a time where you've been using map view, this has been great. And now I don't longer need the mental mind. I don't need the visual map because it's already in my head because I know the data so well. Now I want to fundamentally switch from map view to outline view, which you can do by running an action code that takes that map view and stuffs everything into a hard-coded nested structure, because that's where you now want to live. And that would be like a future project we could work on later. But this is, so I think based on what we've talked about here, what we've really learned about is these kind of very, very fundamentals of map view versus outline view, the use of agents to help discover notes wherever they may be in your file, to organize them in such a way. And what we've also done with you here is we've realized that we needed to really effectively use our prototypes and display our attributes. And we've added some new attributes like type and week number and lecture number to help us manage this process.
So Michael, I have sort of two sort of detail level questions. I think at this point, I'm curious about your thoughts on.
Okay.
So with the agents that we've got here, as you designed, the way that I had conceived this is that the doing it with an agent that I don't need to instantiate 13 agents for it because the numbering drives it directly. And I understand the simplicity of sort of creating them is not that big a deal. Just as a programmer, I just tend to try to encode those things some way instead of doing them by hand. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have thoughts on that. Okay. You ready? This will be fun. And do you mind if let me guys, we're running a little long. Does anybody I guess it doesn't matter. If anybody wants to leave, they can leave and watch the end of the recording later. If you don't mind, Wayne, give me control so I can play with it a little bit. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me to talk it through to you. All right. So the way I would do it here is this is my fundamental. And then the other things I would do, I don't have control of your menus, so that's fine. I would go up here and I'd say, can you add week number and lecture number or week number to this? Got it. All right. That's so sorry. All right, well, that's good. That's all we need. And again, for some reason, all of your week numbers got defaulted to 94. So
Yeah, we got bugs somewhere.
let me take control again here. So I'll just default that back down to 0. It's interesting. So your agent's resetting this too. This is not week, but let's hard code this now to week 1. So that's week 1. And I'm going to pop over to your prototypes. And in that box, can you, let's go week number. Got it. Interesting. I don't know what you've got something.
I've got some other stuff still running that it was trying to do
fine.
the numbering. So
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
So let's go back down here.
hey, I don't mind trying to figure it out. I'm just interested in sort of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it to you right now. It's easier for me to show you than it is to explain it in my head right now. All right. So then we go. All right. So we've got 2 weeks, week 1, week 2. And let's make with week 2. And that's week 1. Okay. And so then what you can do here is you can say for your agent, all right. So your week number for your agent is that. Can you pop up the command 1, the dialog box? All right. And we're going to say the edict on this agent is going to be week number equals so I want my agents, and in fact, and later you could actually add this to the that's where we want to do it.
And why is this an edict as opposed to something else?
Right, because I don't need it running all the time. So
more or less, it gets it's going to get run once, so I just don't want to bother with the overhead.
Right. It's not going to get run once. It's going to get run like once an hour because
Yeah,
eventually,
right. Yeah, but it only matters once almost all the time.
yeah, every once in a while it depends, and then
Right, yeah.
eventually you turn it off.
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this not agent lectures. I don't want to because you might have different types of agents.
Right.
So let's call this agent. We'll just call agent week for now. And so you want your week number to be the week number of the parent. And again, because this is where I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take weeks. I'm gonna put these. Here. So that way now when we're bouncing back and forth, we're not seeing all that other chaff. Okay, and we're going to reset. Can you open up the inspector again, command 1? So I manually adjusted this this edict. I want to get it reset to the parent. Okay, that's good. All right. So agent query. Can you open the inspector again for me? Sorry. So if I go here, my week number is week number. I did it wrong. This, I didn't want this on this folder here. There we go. So I've got a folder week 1 and a folder week 2. Now I've got an agent. And this agent's edict needs to get reset. Why is that? There we go. So what we're saying is we want the agent to be inheriting or pulling its week number from its parent, which in this case is going to be that folder. And we want this one enabled. There we go.
So I don't want to divert you too much from what you're doing. Would it be reasonable to use them to number off of the child count and just do that automatically for them?
No, because you could, but you're going to have a bunch of different children. And what happens if there's figures or notes in between the agents? That doesn't really work. And what we also want your agent, here's another thing too, is you're telling your agent to go grab everything from week number, but that's not actually what we want. What we want.
No, and I've worked out the calculations on that.
But let me show you, this is the better way to do it. Because you have everything in your entire file is keying off of this map view document. This is where all of your notes are for this file here. So I'm going to grab the ID number for this. Can you for some reason I can't right mouse click. Can you right mouse click on that and copy it?
On which thing?
The ID number. Okay. And so I want to go back to our agent. Change our agent query to. This is why it was going to be hard for me just to tell you what to do, because I actually need to work through it. So I want this to be.
So in a sense, and this may be part of what you're working with, the lecture numbers, the matter for because there are 2 per week. The labs get numbered by week, and then the lectures get numbered sort of sequentially, but through the weeks. Then there's mapping at the actual dates, which is another whole thing.
Right. Well, we can work on that too, but let's just do.
We don't need to do that today,
Okay.
and we can
All right.
pause at any
For
point.
for some reason, it's not working for me. Can you hit can you type in here, type descended from? For the D is type descend, see, it keeps popping over. And then put a parenthesis. Put hit paste.
I'm sorry, case?
Paste. No, paste. Paste what's on the clipboard.
Oh,
Okay, close parenthesis and then the ampersand.
not sure. Is that showing on the?
No, we're not seeing it. All right. So what you're now telling Tinderbox to do is only go get the things descended from my map view, not the whole document.
Yep.
Right. So that way I'm not getting like week 1 and all of these other things. So now it's a lot cleaner.
Right.
Okay. And then and I got to see why this agent is not getting its parent. Week number equals week number parent. Okay. and
Which one
what
is
this-
which one is it getting it? Oh, the agent itself.
The agent itself should be getting the week number from its parent, week 1. And week number is 1 here. So this this is not working. So this tells me that you have some other action code somewhere that's overriding this change.
That is possible, but I don't know what it is offhand.
Yeah, and that's something we're just gonna have to find, because if I hard code this to be 1, and I suspect it's gonna change immediately. All right, we'll see. All right. So what you're asking here earlier is where you want to make it so that number 1 is not hard coded. So the way to do that is this. You say equals $ week number agent. Okay. So now when you set it up this way, it looks like you're doing something here.
I was just trying to arrange my screen so I could see everything.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. So week number agent. So week number. All right, so go ahead and rerun the agent real quick. So go up to the file menu and hit run agents. There you go. So what we've now done is this now becomes your universal code. So you're not having to reprogram every agent. Oops, I made it full screen mode on myself here. So now if I copy this, Command A, copy here. Bring this over into my agents. This will be the universal query I want running off of all of my agents. So then if I go down here, this is okay. I figured out why it's overriding. I'll explain to you in a minute. Can you type week number in here? Get rid of that week and type in week number for me. And I'll tell you why it was overriding. Okay. Exit out. Okay. The reason why I was overriding to 0 or 93 is, look here. I asked the prototype to get its week number from its parent prototypes, which is obviously something we don't want. We don't more often than not, you don't want the edicts or rules running on the prototype. You want them running on the notes.
Mhm.
So I'm going to disable the edict running on the prototype itself by doing that. And now I can reset this. Can you right mouse click on that and hit use inheritance?
Oh,
Okay. And so your week number, it's interesting. We've just learned something new here. If I go here and click on week number. Okay. It didn't right mouse click on it again and hit use inheritance.
you mean up here or
Oh, no, it keeps, okay. You've got some other action code running that keeps resetting this number to
Yeah.
93.
right? Oh, yeah. So yeah, I can deal with that.
So you're gonna want to purge that later, but for
Right.
now, let's go ahead and just manually set it to 0.
Um, so just so we can try to wrap things up a little bit. One quick question, Michael. In the view that we've got now, if I wanted to add a topic in between basic Python and VMs and Linux over here, because in my actual outline, there's just other thing I want to talk about. If I just dropped a note in there, is that going to work, or is that going to be a confusing thing?
No, it'll be fine. Just a second. Let me double do this. Let me just. So this is going to be week 2. So those are the items. Okay, and if you look here, can you right mouse click on that and say use inheritance? Oh, there we go. I can do it. There you go. Okay, so now this, so this is so now that we've set this up, this agent's only going to go grab automatically those things coming from week 1. This agent's only going to go grab those things automatically coming from week 2. So you're basically setting up this auto program
Right.
programmatic capability by doing it this way. Now, what was your what was your question? I wasn't listening.
So I have 2 questions about the outline. One is, if I go in here and I just create a topic, can I do that?
No. And
No.
the reason
Okay.
being is because the reason being is because this is an alien, an agent.
Right.
And
Got it.
you can't create notes within an agent. If you wanted to do that though, that's where you would go down to your map view calendar and
Right.
do
I
it
can
here.
make another one over, add another topic over the map view and drag it in. That would be fine.
Or you just do it here. You say new topic,
Mhm.
right? And then you give it a week number of 1
Yeah.
and a lecture number of 2. And there you go, new topic.
And I would assume that there is no real control over the ordering of what's within the agent, except maybe by adding a some kind of sort key to that.
Right.
But dragging them in the outline is not going to do anything.
Well, what you could do then, okay, so then what you would do here is you go topic, and maybe you've got a new prototype called
Right. So I can add something to sort on.
right. So
But
now you're going to sort on topic priority.
but just manual sorting, it doesn't do anything.
No. Oh,
Right.
I mean, well, you could. The way you could do that, or if you wanted to manually sort, but this is where it becomes the map view, outline
Right.
view.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Logic,
This.
right.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
you could in theory sort by outline order. But this is where again, when you get into a really complex project with thousands of notes or even hundreds of notes, managing your entire project out of one container where everything is all in one outline, that's why I don't use map view that much. Right? Because I've got thousands of notes. I can't have one thing called map topics and there's 1,000 notes there. It becomes unmanageable. And so then I use
and I totally get that.
Yeah.
And it sort of seems that I'm probably running at the limit of what's
map view.
workable with this approach, because the visual layout for the problem that I have here is really, really helpful.
Yes.
And my other quick question. My other question is, if we go back and look here, I mentioned early on that there are arrows between some of these things that are dependencies. And is there a action code that would let me say, does C software that C software security needs to come after VMs and Linux, so that I can color code or add an adornment or something that just says this is out of order with respect to the intended dependency. I want to flag errors. I don't want to automatically.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So bear with me as I think it through, because now that I got control, it's helped me. It's helpful for me to be able to do this. So every topic is going to have a. Can you type predecessor and dependency? Okay, and then make those sets.
And I do that down here. Where do I do that?
All right, so let me take back control. So in other words, what we're saying is every topic has a predecessor and a dependency, or not, right? So if you know that such and such is dependent on such and such else, and one of the things that you might want to do to help you manage that idea. So, and it gets a little interesting when you're doing it with aliases. So for now, just to make it easy, let's just do our linking not between aliases, but between actual items in map view. All right. And the reason for that is alias linkings are temporal to the alias.
Right.
And so if you end up deleting the aliases, you end up deleting all your link work.
Right. And all of the links over in so back over here in the map view, right? These were drawn in the map view.
Right, with the actual notes, not with their aliases. I got it.
Right. And so one question, and so is there
I'm gonna show it to you right now. I get it.
Okay.
All right. So let's go down here. Like, so for example, you've got this one, formatting packet bits and bytes. And if we hit Command 7, that pops up our link view, and I can see that this is actually a linked to this node outbound links. Right. So you're saying, and is this and we don't know, is this a dependency or not? Okay. And so what I can do here is I can say browse by. Can you right mouse click on that for me?
For which thing?
On the note.
Click on which node?
The formatting note, the one I'm currently got highlighted.
I'm sorry, which item on here?
Oh, I can't see the menu. I want to see browse links.
Got it.
I'm expecting to see a browse links dialog box pop up.
Oh, there is one. I guess it's just
Oh,
done.
I don't see it. I don't see it because maybe if you were sharing your screen, that would be helpful. Okay, I don't need to see it. I mean, I think part of the problem is in the future when we do this, maybe you could share your whole screen and just not the app.
Yep.
Because a lot of times when it pops up, we don't see a lot of the screens, but I know it's happening, so I can show you. I can show you this. Hit Command 1 so I can see the. Okay, so what you can do, if I can remember the action code real quick, and this is a topic. So we now see dependencies. And if I go to the edicts, so let's do it as a rule real quick. I'm on this particular note and I want to say, so, and again, this is where direction really matters in your mind map.
Yep.
So if something's going, if it's going from this note to an other note, is it a dependency or is it is it a predecessor? So think
So
about-
the
about the
arrows
direction.
in mine go from predecessor to new thing.
So if I'm going from this to that, the to
Right.
thing is going to be the dependent thing,
Yes.
right? So this actually implementing has to be done before formatting. Is that correct? So
Yes.
this note here actually
Oh.
implementing is a dependency of this note.
Actually implementing depends on formatting packets.
Got it. So okay, so
So
all
the
right.
the outbound link is the destination, the thing that comes later.
So okay, so formatting packets is a dependent of actual implementing. Formatting has
Formatting
to
packets
happen.
must come before.
Got it. So it's a dependent. It's
Yes.
all right. So again, this is where again, this is really important when we talk about workflow and how you're choosing to manage things, right? And in your strategy and your linking. So I'm gonna be linking from my dependencies to my predecessors, or from my predecessors to my depend. All right, so let's do it this way. So for this particular map, I'm going to say links dot outbound. Actually, let me first do two things here. Create some link types. If I spell it wrong, can you let me know?
Yep.
All right. Why don't you type the word predecessor for me real quick?
My keyboard's not working there. It's working there.
Let me try it. Let me try it. Oh, because it's the default. We want to do new link type. Here you go. You want to spell it for me? I'm going to get it wrong. There you go. Okay. So now we have two new link types, predecessor and dependent. And the link typing is really important in this process. And so for our experimentation, let's go here. And let's just look at two things. So for the sake of argument, let's say password guessing needs to come before binary numbers. So here's binary numbers and where's password guessing? All right. I'm going to undo this sort just so we can
Michael, do you want to pick this up another time?
I don't. I want to finish this and then we'll pick it
Okay,
up. If you
that's
don't mind.
fine.
New item 1. If you don't mind, I just think we're so close to being done.
Yeah.
Why
That's fine. I just didn't want to keep you to force you here.
No, I'm good. I'll feel unfulfilled if it's not finished. I don't know why this is getting sorted this way, but that's fine. All right.
I think
We've
I
got-
probably have an alphabetical sort thing on this.
All right. Let's just do it here. So we've got new item 1, new item 2. Let's make this week 1. Week 2. Okay. And what we want to say is this new item 2 is actually a new item 1 has to happen before new item 2. Let's say that.
Yes.
That's what we're saying. So there is a link association between these two like this. And so what we're saying is, where are our, let me just type it here. So this is a dependency. Okay, so now you see new item 1 is a dependency of new item 2.
Yep.
Okay, and then we can write action code on that. That says, do it as a rule, just for fun. We'll say links dot outbound dot outbound. Is that lags bad for me? Can you type the word dependency?
Yep. I can type it. Man.
Okay, links dot outbound dependency. For now, we'll just call it name. Okay, and what we're going to say is, and again, you're going to have to come up with what logic works
Right.
for
Yeah.
you,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's the code. So
Mm-hmm.
if I do that, it didn't work. So let's see, just a minute. Links dot outbound. Did we spell dependency right?
Yep.
Dependency equals 1. All right, let me double check my file, see what I'm doing wrong here.
Can I try an experiment while you're doing that?
Yeah. Let me look it up real quick on it.
Okay, so simply setting predecessor in new item 1 is not working.
Spell predecessor. Oh, but you're not going to do it in that way.
Oh, I know I'm not going to do it that way. I was just trying to.
But if you're gonna do that test, you wouldn't test it this way either. You wouldn't put it in a rule. When you're doing that kind of testing, you do it this way.
What I was testing was whether the rule was having an effect.
Right, but you got to create a stamp. Like, why can't I create a stamp here? So I think your file's gotten. Let's hit save. Maybe you can close and open up your file real quick.
I'll share the screen this time.
All right.
Don't look at anything else.
Yeah, no worries. All right, now I got to ask for control again. All right, which note were we on? We're down in
We were down in topics and new notes 1 and 2. So new item 1.
oops. Much easier. So let's just do your real quick test here, right? So if you run a stamp, yeah, we see it is working, right? So now if we go to our rule, and our rule, for some whatever reason, our rule didn't get saved. So if we say predecessor rules,
We wanted that to be dependency, right?
oh, you're right.
And yes, vocabulary, I should clarify just to make it completely clear, but I could,
Yes.
that's
But
thing I can.
we're just getting the mechanics right now.
Yep.
Did I spell it right?
Yep.
There you go. Okay, so and I think the edict. All right. So then, and we want to do it as a plus equals. So, okay, now watch this. So let's say you had now a new item called new item 3. Right? And new item 3 is also a dependency. Now you got both.
Right. Okay, so with just bringing Action Inspector over so I can see it. The so the rule I think I like to have, and it can go on either end of the link. I think I just don't know what your advice would be. Is that on new item 2, I would like the thing that says that if lecture number of 2 is less than anything in its predecessors,
Okay.
then I would like it to turn red or to put an exclamation point adornment on it, something like that. That's it, just a visual indication that my dependencies are messed up.
Okay.
And I think that could be written from either side. I don't really care at the moment which one it is.
Let's do this real quick before I forget. And then I'm going to ask you to ask the question again. This is how you get the okay. So that will get our okay. Now what you want to do is what if what is messed up?
So if the is the lecture number of the predecessor needs to be less than or equal to the lecture number of the just to make it concrete, we want 1 before 2. So the constraint is that the lecture number of 1 has to be less than or equal to.
Okay, so that one we can do, but that one I'm going to say we'll have to do later.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why and how, and so you can think about it between now and when we do it. So I've got these 2 dependencies to this lecture, right? What you really want to do, and so ultimately what you're ultimately going to do is for each one of these notes, you're going to have a rule that's running that says, go look at the ID numbers of my dependent notes. Look at the current lecture number of today. And compare for each ID number of my dependent notes, compare my current lecture number to their lecture numbers. And then if anything's out of order, flag it with an exclamation point.
Right.
Right. What that will require is probably an hour's worth of effort between you and I at some point, which is basically building this into a list and then going through and interrogating that list.
Right. Okay.
Right. And easily done, but we don't have the time to do it today.
Sure.
But hopefully today this exercise kind of helped you think through a lot. I think we thought through a lot today in using Tinderbox. Art, if you're still with us, if you haven't fallen asleep, how would you recap what we've done today?
No, I haven't fallen asleep. No, I think it was really great. I think probably like two things come from this. One is that you're seeing the incremental formalization in action, because Win may have started out with the project visualized or conceived in a particular way, but it can evolve as it goes through. And the other point that I was thinking about was, we had done way back, I think, a meetup or a demo where you could move the classes around in the map view, and that would automatically populate its numbers or its sequential placement in the outline view based on where the X pause and the Y pause were. So it might be worth looking into that as well.
Yeah, and we did, but we also concluded that gets really complicated very quickly when you start getting to hundreds of notes.
This is absolutely correct. Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And then one thing I'll show, and then we'll just kind of wrap up today. Why don't we take over? Let me take over sharing screen with. Is what I was going to show, just kind of help you so we can all kind of line on where you ultimately can go with these kinds of the strategy. So let's say you're writing a research paper and you have, chapter 1 and it's got a couple figures in it. Chapter 2's got a table. Chapter 4's got a figure. And then you have these series of appendices. And Lynn and Wynn, this will help you. This method, the reason why I'm showing this is I want you to be thinking about this ultimately when you're thinking about the syllabus that you want to output and the way you want to be numbering these kinds of things. With this particular project, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to automatically number the figures and the images based on on where they're showing up in the outline of the paper.
Yep.
Or the syllabus. And moreover, if they're an appendix, I want them labeled with the appendix prefix ABC versus just 1, 2, 3. And then more importantly, what I want to then also be able to do is when I'm doing writing, I want to be able to then cross-reference the appendix numbers or tables in the writing. And let me just, there's a lot of steps to go about doing this, but the short answer is this. I wrote some auto numbering script that we'll explain next week. That goes through and tells you how to do that. And then I'm also, similarly to what we were just doing, is I'm running agents that are basing, go get me all of the tables and go get me all of the figures running in this particular file. So that way, if I can, then if you see here where I've got the caption numbers that I've put into these notes, and you see where I've got caption number here and there's nothing. If I go and apply that stamp, I'll show you here. If I go and apply the table stamp, you'll see it automatically numbers the tables. And if I apply the figure stamp, it automatically runs and does the figures. And so then that way, I now have and you'll see it's actually gone in and properly relabeled all of the figures and also created their captions. So that way, when I'm actually writing my document, and I've created a text expander thing too that allows me to, and I'll show you that. Text expander. I've created a text expander that says basically grab the export code with whatever's in my clipboard. So let's say I'm in chapter 1 and I want to say I want you to go look at figure number 1. So I can grab the ID number of figure number 1 and say, give me the cross-reference short of figure number 1. Give me the cross-reference long of figure number 1. And so what that exercise did is it grabbed the ID number of the note that I wanted to grab for the cross-reference and grabs the short cross-reference versus the long cross-reference. And so then when I go reference, and then let's say I want to do the same thing of, say, appendix, this appendix figure. Up here, and I say cross-reference. Okay, so now when I render that, it says, and I didn't grab the right number. Which one did we do here? Got it. Just make sure they're updated. No. Appendix, where they appended? Oh, here we go. Appendix B figure. There we go. I want to grab that ID. Put it in there. Okay, and for some reason, that ID is 65. Should work. Huh. All right, well, I'll figure out. So, but you'll see that that I'm actually able to automatically manage my figure referencing and cross referencing. And as I
Right.
move as I move those tables and figures around in my document, the numbers will automatically renumber themselves and resort themselves. And
Yeah.
then it will maintain the cross reference linkings. And that's
Which is cool.
similar to what you're also trying to do in your class lecture. But we can talk about that later. We're out of time to go into that in detail. All right, was this a good session for you guys?
I think we set a record.
I think it was good. Yeah, we did a couple hours worth of it. So awesome.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
appreciate
everybody.
all the detail, Michael.
Thank you
And
much.
I appreciate everyone else hanging in there.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, have a great week.